everyone. Greetings and good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I am Sabrina Lowery, the tech evangelist and your host of Geek Talk, where we give entrepreneurs expert knowledge on all things business, all things lifestyle, all things leisure, all things tech, all things real estate, and tonight's topic, all things wellness. I am so excited to be here with you. I would love for you all to chime in to the comments and let me know where you're tuning in from. And you can always catch the replays on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. We are streaming live this evening on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So I want to give a shout out to my audience, bring you all into the stream, give the analytics and all those things, the web crawlers crawling, and let's go ahead and share this broadcast out before I bring in our very special guest. So, tonight, I want to tell you all just a little bit about who I am if this is your first time to the Geek Talk podcast. I am a chief technology officer and founder of my very own boutique business and technology consulting firm, Sabrina Lowery Enterprises, LLC, where we take the stress out of tech by providing entrepreneurs, small business, nonprofits, the technical support that they need in order to grow their business and sustain their business. I am also the founder and qualifying broker of Legacy Realty and Management. And with that, I would like to play a short commercial so that you can see a little bit about what Legacy has to offer. We are in the market with a brand new featured listing, and you can make this your home. If you take a look at the video that is streaming in the broadcast, this property is available, fully renovated, located in Marietta, just minutes away from the Marietta Square, Dobbins Air Force Base, Lockheed Martin, the Battery, the Silver Comet Trail, the Smyrna Market Village, and Kennesaw Mountain. This home has a one-car garage, a beautiful brand new deck, all new hardwood floors, open concept floor plan, stainless steel appliances, and a gorgeous bathroom that has a chevron tile design from floor to ceiling. We are offering this home, and you can take a look at legacyrealtyandmanagement.com. Now, it is time for us to get into the conversation with our very special guest, and I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Daniela Peel. I would like you all to hear just a little bit about who she is. Dr. Daniela Peel Hunter, PhD, is a United Nations Peace Ambassador, global wellness strategist, and author of Shattered Silence: Navigating Workplace Trauma and Thriving. With over 17 years of experience in healthcare and organizational culture, she works with individuals and organizations navigating burnout, toxic work environments, major life transitions, and midlife wellness. including perimenopause and menopause. As the founder of the Heal Well Collective and co founder of Global Well Exchange, Dr. Peel Hunter is redefining workplace and personal wellness by combining trauma informed care, leadership strategy, and AI driven wellness tools, helping people recover from disruption and build ways excuse me, and build healthier, more sustainable ways to live and work. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my very special guest, Dr. Daniela Peel.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. It's an honor and a privilege to be here this evening. As you mentioned, my specialty is workplace wellness and not so much the trendy things that we know about, yoga and things like that. It's more so helping build infrastructure in the organization so individuals can actually thrive and it's not an afterthought.
I love that so much. And you know how entrepreneurs tend to put self last, right? And that self on the shelf is one of my little taglines that I use. So I want us to dig real deep into the conversation. But first, I want you to tell the people what you do, who you do it for.
And that's pretty simple. I do it for women primarily. And how I do that is through wellness retreats. I also have AI wellness incorporated in the infrastructure to help people thrive. It's coaching. I talk about various topics as it relates to pivoting well in major life transitions, whether it's divorce, burnout, toxic work environments. As you mentioned, midlife, women leaders are in a transition at this phase of life. And so I help them do that as well. And so those are the different areas that I help, particularly women in wellness, and that also includes entrepreneurs.
I love that so much. And I want to be sure that our audience is able to connect with you. So I'm going to drop your contact information across the bottom here so they know where they can find you and connect with you. And while we are talking about our audience, I want you to go back to the beginning. Tell everyone, how did Dr. Daniela start her journey into the medical and wellness industry?
That's actually a great question. It's actually through lived experience. In 2012, I went through a divorce after 10 years of marriage. And then it was just a sequence of life experiences. I went through my divorce. My parents got divorced after 35 years of marriage. My mother passed away untimely. I had a grandmother that passed away. So it was like a sequence of things happening. And I was trying to figure out ways to kind of navigate that because it was so many traumatic things happening simultaneously in a period of a short time span. And so, as I was trying to figure that out and navigate that, God really dropped it in my spirit after my mom's untimely passing. He actually gave me the name, the Heal Well Collective, and instructed me that I was going to help women in this space on teaching them how to pivot well based off of my own journey. And so it was really my own lived experiences that helped me kind of transition into the space of healthcare. And I kind of fell into healthcare by happenstance as well, doing this for 17 years as doing community impact, social responsibility, talent acquisition in various roles, health equity, things like that. But it really started from my own lived experiences of, major things that I experienced from grief, loss, things like that.
Absolutely. And what I've done is I've shared your website and I have all of the information and your services. And so I want you to now talk about wellness in the workplace and how you might be able to serve our entrepreneur audience.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that organizations and even entrepreneurship, I think the way that we frame wellness is more so kind of like an afterthought. It's like an activity that we need to do. What I will do is I will come into either an organization or help entrepreneurs actually build an infrastructure where it's actually part of the organization or the culture. It's part of the actual enterprise, as you would say. And so it's not like we're doing activities such as, meditation or things like that. It's an actual infrastructure that we build within the organization. So it's actually part of the regular flow of the culture and things like that. A lot of times, I think, like when you think of burnout, we make people feel as though it's their fault. And it's not an individual's fault. It's actually, if you think about it, it's an infrastructure, it's a design flaw. And that's how we're conditioned to think about that. Like there's activities that we have to do, but if we build it within our actual systems, individuals and entrepreneurs and organizations, the human side of that, people can actually thrive because it's embedded in what we do on a regular basis.
Absolutely. And I love that so much because I can think back to before my entrepreneurial journey when I was in corporate America. And my background in corporate America was in IT. So, in the technology industry, a male dominated industry, I am not from the South. I am a Jersey girl, born and raised New Jersey. Then I did college at the University of Florida. And then I brought myself, my children, my life to Atlanta, Georgia. And let me tell you, the culture shock is real. The way that people manage the workplace is absolutely, it was unsafe for me on a number of levels. We can talk about the discrimination. We can talk about the harassment. We can talk about all the different ways of unfair treatment. And this is way before the COVID-19 pandemic. We are here talking about back in the 90s, early 2000s. I relocated here in 96. So let's just go back to Atlanta 96 and what
Mm-hmm.
that looked like. So I want you to talk to the audience that may be in a similar transition, leaving corporate, thinking about leaving corporate, starting a business. Let's tell our entrepreneurs a little bit about how they can make a seamless, healthy transition.
I think what's really important is that we have to build in the things that will allow us to thrive and be healthy. We all know as entrepreneurs that hustle, the grind, the things that we do to try to make the business successful. There's a lot of tireless hours as part of entrepreneurship. And part of that is we have to implement boundaries, right? That's even on the corporate side. Boundaries are extremely important. So for example, you may start your day at a certain specific time, but then you have to set a time for to eat, for example, as simple as eating. That's important. You may need to take a step away from your computer or even set aside time on when you're going to actually check your emails. There's no way you can check your emails all day long when you have other business functions, especially if you're a solopreneur. You have to implement a very strict schedule in order to do that. So as you're taking appointments, you need to build in those times for self-care, eating, things like that, meditation, taking a walk, etc. And so that's really important. The transition is not necessarily always easy, and you're going to have stumbles and barriers. But as entrepreneurs, we know that you have to keep going and implement those things that'll make you successful. One of my business mentors always told me, I know for a fact there's certain times that I cannot contact my business mentor. He has a very strict schedule. He takes business meetings at a certain time, and then he checks his emails. There's 3 times throughout the day that he checks emails, and that is the only time he checks emails. So you have to be very strategic in how you build out your schedule. Just like you're thinking about scheduling business meetings, you also have to schedule in your self care. time as well. And then if you're an entrepreneur that has a family, a partner, things of that nature, activities, you have to build all of those things in, and taking time away to make sure that you're able to give yourself and pour back into yourself. It's very important, because you'll burn out. Even as an entrepreneur, you can burn out if you don't implement those things, which are very important.
Absolutely. And I can relate to that. I want to bring us into a very close focus so that our audience can dive in deep with this conversation as we move into our last week experience with your M Factor project. Would you please share with the audience what the documentary is about? What the event and the experience was about, and how they might be able to support this new documentary.
Absolutely. So last Thursday, we were hosted a screening for the M Factors Films second documentary called Before the Pause. And it really was an hour-long documentary educating not only women on the symptoms that they may be experiencing, but also hearing from medical professionals on ways and things that they can do to not only advocate for themselves, but also understanding the changes within their body. The other amazing thing about the documentary is that they also incorporated spouses and partners and husbands, which are equally as important in the conversation, because these are the individuals that support us women in this transition, as well as our families. And so it's really important to be able to educate women on the changes that are happening in midlife, understanding that you're not alone. There's a lot of us in this particular phase, and there's actually support out there in order to help you feel better. So, as a community event, we had medical professionals, we had certified menopause experts on the panel. And then we really just opened up the floor to ask questions that women wanted to know answers to really understand some of the symptoms. We hear about, the normal symptoms of hot flashes and night sweats, but a lot of us don't realize that we have estrogen receptors from head to toe that impact all systems within our body. And so you could have itchy ears, joint pain, frozen shoulder. And those are symptoms that we don't really hear about. We just think, oh, I don't have hot flashes. I may not be in perimenopause. And that's actually not the case. And so we just created a community event in partnership and collaboration with my friends, Kara Norman and Julie Osborne. This is our fourth community event we did together to really just spread awareness and have the conversation and to let women know. And partners, there were some partners in attendance as well, just to educate and have the conversation, really just to let women know that you're not alone and that there is treatment options available for you to feel better.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, I am in that demographic. And so I want to share with the audience one of the books that we were blessed with. And I am so grateful for this information because it has truly helped me remember it's not just me. There is a whole entire nation going through this. And why does it always take the celebrities to get the media attention to bring these real life conversations to the table where we have our smaller communities, but it is just as important and it is definitely power in that room. There were some amazing powerhouses in that room. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am holding up one of the books that we were blessed with called The New Menopause: Navigating Your Path Through Hormonal Change with Purpose, Power, and Facts by Dr. Mary Claire Haver. And so I'm going to zoom that into the camera there so that you all can see. But this was just one of the many blessings. Daniela, please share with the audience at the end of that experience here locally in Atlanta. Aren't you taking the show on the road?
So we are having additional events that are upcoming as well, but we also want to venture into not just perimenopause, but there's also a need for conversation with couples as well, and then also perimenopause in the workplace as well. And so those are important topics. We have currently three generations of women in corporate America, and there's a lot of companies out there that do not offer these benefits for women in midlife. And then it's also important. I have a very good girlfriend collaborator that speaks primarily on couples and couple pause and andropause, because men also do go through transition as well. It just looks differently. And so there are conversations around that as well. But the M Factor film does have viewings all over the country. You can go to their website to see their local screenings, and it will be publicly viewed on PBS where you can see it as well. And I think the next event locally in Atlanta is on February 7th.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I am really excited for this documentary to take the road, right? And hit the road and hit these communities and empower these women that are going through the change. And what I thought in my personal experience, because I am in that phase of perimenopause where that education was tremendous for me, because as I sit under the hot lights, hot flashing, you gotta be ready at all times. You
Uh-huh.
understand? I also am one of those blotters because, hello, the shine gets real when we are before our clients and things. So, those are just two of my necessities that I carry, including my bottle of water to stay hydrated. So I'd love for you to drop some fun facts for us and maybe a few gems, if you will, that will help these women who are in the workplace struggling with wellness while going through the change.
That is such a great question. I think the first thing is recognizing. So I'll say this: you can leverage your employee resource groups as one way in order to have the conversation within the organization, as well as partnering with organizations such as the M Factor film, myself, and others. That can actually help bring in those types of benefits to your organization as well. There are three generations of women in perimenopause and menopause, either getting ready to step into that or in it, or getting ready to transition out of that. And when you look at it, we're talking about senior leaders with a lot of experience, that if you're not thinking of menopause or perimenopause as a business strategy, you're going to miss out on a lot of talented women in that. So it is a business case for women in perimenopause and menopause. And there's a lot of different ways that organizations can offer this benefit, not just as a healthcare benefit, but there's also things that can be done within the organization to allow women to be able to honor the transition that they're experiencing within their bodies. And so there's a lot of resources that can provide those benefits to an organization as far as healthcare is concerned. But then also there's things that you can do, like leadership training. I remember myself at an organization, I was going through midlife myself. I didn't even know I was in perimenopause. I experienced vertigo. And yes, vertigo is a symptom of perimenopause. And I was having all these major transitions going on at the same time. And I had a leader at the time that did not understand that I am in that transition. And so that sometimes shows up as, performance, meaning you're having brain fog. You might be forgetful and forget things. And so leadership training is very important to help educate leaders on that population of talented women within the organization. So those are just some ways that you can support the women in your organization. But there's a lot of other benefit opportunities, and including healthcare options that you can provide as a benefit to women that are in midlife. I think a lot of times we need to reframe the stigma of women in midlife, that you're just aging and you're old and you have nothing to offer. And I like to say that that's the exact opposite. We are more vibrant than ever and still have a lot to offer, a lot of wisdom, talent, and all of the things. And we shouldn't just be disregarded, which is what society conditions us to think as women transitioning in this next phase of life.
That is so true. And I want to also talk about those entrepreneurs that don't have health care. Can you speak to the resources they might be able to have and get access to, whether they're in this change of life, mid season, as I call it, or they're dealing with other health issues, including high blood pressure, cardiac problems, which we know are still those silent killers? Can you please share with our audience?
Absolutely. So there are, this is the biggest thing when it comes to this transition, perimenopause and menopause. I'll give you an example. So for supplements, we know that it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The biggest thing is you want to make sure that you are seeking out supplements that are evidence-based and vetted. So not all the supplements out there are good supplements for you in this particular phase. There are very well vetted holistic options that you can look into for that type of care that you need as far as symptoms. But I always say that you want to always find a clinician that can help you. There's a lot of providers, especially locally in Atlanta, that are willing to help treat those symptoms. They typically will treat the symptoms that you have. Labs they will pull, but it's more so just to kind of rule out other things that may be going on. Those practitioners will treat the actual symptoms. And so there are resources to find those clinicians. You can go to the Menopause Society, they have a link for that. MIDI Health is an option. They're in 50 states. They take insurance as well as self-pay patients. There's a lot of local reputable clinicians such as Smart Med. Those are places that you can go to actually seek treatment. And you want to be able to make sure that you find a doctor or a clinician that will listen to you. If they're not listening to you and your symptoms, you need to find another provider that will listen to you. A lot of clinicians, and this is something that the documentary talks about as well, clinicians don't get a lot of training as it relates to women in perimenopause and menopause. And so a lot of them don't know that, your heart palpitations may not necessarily be a cardiovascular issue. It could be related to perimenopause. Again, all of our systems are impacted by estrogen. And so that our systems are impacted by those. And so it's all interconnected. And so you do have to be able to advocate for yourself. And one of those ways that you can do that is if your provider doesn't listen, you can find another provider going through the Menopause Society. There's a lot of clinicians now that you start to see on social media that are well educated, specifically in menopause and perimenopause, that can assist you. And then, like I said, there are organizations that will help as far as providing care for you, especially if you don't have insurance, that can provide resources. But there's also natural options as well, and those providers can assist with that. A lot of functional providers will assist with that as well. I think a lot of folks kind of forget the integrative functional medicine providers are well trained in this particular area. So there's options for natural remedies that are, evidence-based, well vetted. And you can also seek out treatment options that are best suited to you. What works for me may not work for Sabrina, right? So every treatment plan or care plan is going to be based off the woman's symptoms, but there are resources. You can get help, and you don't have to suffer in silence.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing that information. Again, last Thursday evening, I learned so much, which is why I thought that the timing of our conversation tonight was just so perfect. I would like to give a few shout outs to our live audience who has tuned in. I want to say good evening, Titi Layo. Thank you so much for being here on the Geek Talk with Sabrina and friends. It is always great to have support of my fellow entrepreneurs. And I also want to say good evening, Sarad. It's so good to see you in the podcast audience this evening. And your comment is absolutely on point. Daniela, she says, thank you both for such a valuable and insightful podcast session. This discussion spanning wellness, workplace well being, menopause, and all of the incredible resources are incredibly impactful. And so we just want to say thank you so much for joining into the conversation. And for those of you that are catching us live or on the replay, you can still drop your questions and your comments for Dr. Daniela and for me if you have them and want to get connected to some of the resources that she mentioned earlier. So, Dr. Daniela, let's shift the conversation, shall we? And let's talk about what's next for Dr. Daniela Peel Hunter in 2026. Tell the people what you got going on.
Absolutely. So we do have an upcoming event in New York, March 12th through the 14th. It is a wellness conversation for leaders that are looking for global impact. We do also have a sound bath coming up in May as well, May 14th. And then we also have two events. I forgot. How can I forget? Black History Month. We have two upcoming events on the 22nd of February at the Avalon. I will share out those details on my social media as well. And then later in the year, we'll be having a retreat here in Atlanta. It's a day retreat. More details to come on that as well.
Perfect. And that is exactly why we bring our podcast audience to life, right? We do this live, but then the global audience can catch these replays and still gain resources and connections. And so let's talk to the people about how can they connect with you, and I'll reshare your website with them.
Yes, so audience members may connect with me on Instagram either at Dr. Daniela Peel or at the Heal Well Collective. And then, of course, as you shared, my website, www.thehealwellcollective. And then, of course, on my social platforms, you can also email me directly. I'm always open to collaborations with individuals in the health and wellness space, and especially in AI and wellness as well, which is the next, move for this particular space. So I'd love to hear from you. Open to collaborations, and if you ever need any resources, I'm always open to that as well.
Thank you so much for that information, for sharing your resources. I've got to pivot this conversation for our last segment, and let's talk about the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center Milestone Circles, which is how we came together. Can you talk to our audience about your experience with NASDAQ?
Absolutely. So I actually had the privilege of completing the program. I think it was back in 2019. So I was cohort number 55, one of the earlier cohorts. And at the time, I was looking to kind of refocus, repivot my business. And so I took the 12-week program, had amazing cornerstone mentors such as Sabrina, coaching and guiding me for 12 weeks, where we just focused on one area of my business for 12 weeks with mentorship. We had a cohort of other, at that time, it was just open to women. Now it is open to men and women. where we just kind of use the group, the cohort for ideas, recommendations, and just kind of getting opinions on how to move my business forward. And after 12 weeks, graduated. I did complete my task at hand and graduated, and also paid it forward by being a cornerstone mentor for a few cohorts myself. But it's an excellent program if you're an entrepreneur. You have seasoned, experienced cornerstone mentors in all different sectors and industries that are here to help you accomplish your goals within your business with an amazing 12-week program. And then also the connections that you make within the program as well. You learn and meet so many different professionals across different industries, from new entrepreneurs to seasoned entrepreneurs to, you know, 7 8 figure entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs just starting out. And so it was such a wonderful experience, and even now, years later, it's still a resource for me as it relates to different topics, whether you're looking at scaling, how to find funding, how to find mentors, all of that important information. It was such a great program. I recommend anyone looking into it and being a part of it.
Absolutely. And so do I. So I am going to throw that up on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have never heard of the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center powered by the Wells Fargo Foundation, you should go to NASDAQcenter.org. And this program is free. You must apply to get accepted. In those 12 weeks, as Dr. Daniela said, you will create a milestone in your business. And trust me, when I did my milestone in 12 weeks, my milestone was to get my financial house in order. And when I tell you that was quite a feat, because my journey was at the end of the year to close the books and then file the taxes. So the journey was real, but I did it. I was successful. I graduated. I was featured on the NASDAQ Tower in New York. It was beyond amazing. And then let me tell you how the NASDAQ Center treats the alumni, the mentors. We had the Milestone Summit in Chicago, Illinois last July. And in 2026, they are bringing us together in Seattle, Washington. So I want all of you to learn more. Follow my LinkedIn posts or my Facebook post where I can nominate you as an entrepreneur. They are still accepting new entrepreneurs and have now grown to over 7,000 graduates, including cohorts of men. So I've been mentoring men as well through the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. And when I tell you, it is absolutely the greatest feeling for me to lift as I climb. So when I say that, I mean by extending the resources and the connections that I have to these fellow cohort entrepreneurs and watch them grow and be successful with completing their milestone, that gets a clap for me. And so, everyone, again, that resource is there for the entrepreneurs. I just learned, Daniela, that someone that has been following me on my Facebook page for years saw my post, applied, and was accepted. And so now she's scheduling one-on-one with me and joining my Tuesday live office hours so that she can continue to receive mentorship from yours truly. Now, if we have the opportunity to still do some networking in Atlanta, our city circles are there where we absolutely want to come together and bring our local metro Atlanta, Georgia, even as far as Alabama. Some of the ladies were driving in Tennessee, if you remember, right, to join us in person. So Talk about the strength of that network and how you will pay that forward.
Absolutely. So, as Sabrina mentioned, I also was a cornerstone mentor for several cohorts as well. But as far as the city circles, it's really a way for us locally to build relationship and community in this entrepreneurial journey. And so, we each have our own areas and industries of specialty. And so, we leverage that to really help us in our entrepreneurial journey. I'll give you an example. Sabrina is a perfect example. You know, she is the tech guru. So if I need technology information and training and AI training, I'm going to reach out to my milestone sister for that additional information. But we also have several other individuals, whether it's marketing, branding. We have different industries such as trucking, you name it. And it's just a way to kind of really leverage those resources and actually build community in person. And then also, it's a way to help us be able to speak to your business and share that information with others. So, if I'm meeting individuals in my space that need tech help or real estate assistance, I'm going to refer them to my milestone circle sister, Sabrina, for that help and that assistance and that guidance. And so that's another way that we help support one another as well as referrals.
I love that. Daniela, I am absolutely representing Milestone tonight. I said I'm going to give them all the props because that network has been absolutely amazing for me. I finally found my sweet place where I am accepted and loved and appreciated, because there are a number of organizations that shall remain nameless that don't treat your girl fairly. And so I had to move on. And so when that happens, it affects my wellness. And we know we cannot be great when our health is not good. So we're talking about our mental health, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about our physical health, ladies and gentlemen. And don't you dare forget about your spiritual well being as well. Dr. Daniela, let's close out. What are your final parting thoughts for the audience this evening?
I think the biggest thing I'd like to leave with the audience is that the future of work isn't about squeezing out more productivity out of exhausted people, right? I think we're just kind of recognizing that, burnout is a real thing. And it's really about building environments where people, humans, can actually thrive long term. And so when we protect the nervous system, we create stronger workplaces and healthier communities. And when you have healthier communities, it's really the foundation for sustainable success. And I think that's what's really important.
That is absolutely the most important. And I don't want our audience to forget that. Dr. Daniela, it has been absolutely my honor to have you on my podcast. It has been a joy having you in my life. It is so meaningful when you get in a room and it's not always like minded people, but it's just good people. You know what I mean? And that is what I found in you, your extension of your network to me, and all of the beautiful ladies that you've now extended your connections with me. We are going to make 2026 our best years ever. And it's all through collaborations just like this. You got to show up and show support for your sisterhood. And so thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel the same way about you, Sabrina, 100%. And I agree with you. It is about community. It's about aligned community. I think that's the biggest thing, aligned community. And I think a lot of times we need to realize that there's enough business for all of us. And it's better to do that in community instead of being competitive with one another and, doing all of the backstabbing shenanigans and things that we sometimes see in this space. And so community is very, very important for me. I'm always going to root for my women out there, support. If I can refer resources, collaborate, that's really what it's about. And I do appreciate you, Sabrina, for being a light in my life. And it's been a privilege and an honor to be on your podcast as well. You know, I love you. So
Love you too, sis. Love you too. And I cannot wait for us to plan our next trip together. I know Sarad and I talked to. We're going to make this thing happen in Seattle. Trust me, I'm praying
absolutely.
over that thing to happen. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an awesome conversation. I know you want to hear more. And so, what you're going to have to do is connect with Dr. Daniela, and she has provided you all with her contact information. I'll just go ahead and run that one more time for our audience. So you need to go to the healwellcollective.com, and you can find her on socials. Just Google her. You'll be fine. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you again real soon. And I'm going to part and give the audience another little commercial. Thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another fabulous episode of Geek Talk, where we give entrepreneurs expert knowledge. And if you would be interested in being on the broadcast, all you got to do is scan that QR code that you see on the screen behind me, or go to sabrinalowery.com and you will see that apply to be on the Geek Talk podcast. It will be my honor to feature you and have these deep conversations, meaningful conversations where you can share your resources with our audience as well. So, what I'd like to do now is let you all know a couple of announcements. First and foremost, we have next Tuesday's guest. Ava Ivy will be joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, another one of our Milestone Circle sisters hitting the podcast. And yes, I can't wait to have that conversation with her. And of course, you all should tune in on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for the live stream. But if you want to catch that replay and get your podcasts on your favorite platforms, we are available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. All right, just search for Geek Talk with Sabrina Lowery and friends. So I want you to save the date, subscribe to the channel, set your reminders, and be sure that you tune in for our next episode. Ava Ivy will be my special guest. And lastly, the brand new series that kicked off yesterday. It was so amazing. And we are talking about the Build Your Business Like a Boss Digital Confidence and AI Skills Masterclass series. This 4-part series is designed for those entrepreneurs that need a little bit of hand holding, a lot of tech support, and a whole lot of AI in order to increase their productivity and their profitability. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've got the QR code on the screen. I want for you all to be sure that you register by going to sabrinalowery.com or going to buildyourbusinesslikeaboss.com. To learn more, it is free to attend, but you can always upgrade to VIP to get the masterclass replay, the ebooks after each session, because we have 4 different topics. Next week's session is all about social media and digital marketing mastery. So you need to be there. We will have a special guest in the room. Joy Pearson will be there, along with several other ladies in tech. So I don't want you to miss your opportunity to learn and grow and thrive in your business. So I'm hosting these 90-minute live Zoom workshops on Mondays at 11:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. And again, just go to sabrinalowery.com so that you can get registered. And I can't wait to see you in my Zoom room. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an amazing episode tonight. I am so grateful that you took time to catch a little bit, catch the whole broadcast. Whatever your needs are, please tag an entrepreneur and share this broadcast. And more importantly, if you'd like to have a conversation with me, the tech evangelist, your opportunity is now. You can be on the Geek Talk and give entrepreneurs expert knowledge. You all make it a great day. Take care.